They call him Pops Brown. I call him Sergeant Brown because he worked very hard to become a sergeant in the Army. He moved to Hull, Quebec around 1954 and called for his wife, my grandmother, and their kids. And I remember in the letter, Turi said, "I want you to come so we can start a dry cleaning business. This has always been my dream." So they came over, and between about 1956 to 57, 58, they worked for a hotel called the Beacon Arms, and they wanted to expand the business, which was basically meant offering a pickup and delivery service. Well, the Beacon Arms didn't like the idea, so my grandfather turned to my grandmother and said, "What should we do? I have to fulfill this dream." She said, "Don't worry, I've saved the money, we can start our own business." So they moved to another location, started Brown's Cleaners and Tailors. They were at about 2 or 3 locations before they ended up at 286 Bank Street. And at that point, they employed about 8 to 10 people. My grandfather was someone who, he felt that he was doing well, no matter how well he was or was not doing. And if he could create jobs for someone else, he did. So someone would come in and say they needed a job just to get through the week or two, so he would hire them as a clerk, show them how to use the press machine, show them how to iron shirts, to do the washing. He was just sort of that type of guy. He believed in moving together, as opposed to just by himself. So he just never gave up. They took their first vacation about 10 years later in Jamaica. He was a stand-in father for about 2 to 3 people, 2 to 3 women who came to Canada, because all their family was back in Jamaica. And so whenever someone was married, the first person they'd think of would be my grandfather, who was more than happy. My grandmother would make him a suit and be standing there like this, and my grandmother would sew their dresses, and he just wanted people to know that no matter where you've come from, always look good. He became blind in his 70s due to diabetes. And he was a very stubborn man, did not want to learn Braille, but always had a dream of writing music. So he would talk into a microphone and have one of us transcribe it. And then he'd have us shipped off to a studio to have them play music to it. And he had an idea for a song for Ottawa, which was called the Ottawa Waltz, because he felt that Ottawa had given so much to his family, to himself. He wanted to give something back. So that idea became a competition, and he didn't win it, but he instilled the idea of the Ottawa Waltz. He had so many stories to tell and never stopped telling stories about his time in the Army, the people he met. And he started off as a gunner and became a trainer. And he was very proud of what he did, because the people that he trained, he said, "Your life is at stake, and I want to make sure that you come back alive." So when he was living in Hull, they had the November 11th celebration. And so he ran from Hull to Ottawa for the celebration. And this was one of his most disappointing events, where he was there, he met other people who were in the Army, but because of his color, it's like they all turned away from him. And he couldn't believe that he had spent so many years helping other people to save their lives and to be shunned that way. And he said, "But I'll show them." And he ended up, one of the people who was at that same time ended up working for him part-time when he needed a job.